This video ranks the top 10 chokers in 2020's NBA playoffs. If every one of these players comes even close to living up to their roles, then their teams could have advanced to the next series. So I'm about to show you how all 10 came up well short of expectations when their teams needed them most. Just want to say I appreciate every one of my subscribers for the consistent support. If you're new here and enjoy this video, make sure you hit subscribe for NBA hot takes, predictions, and stories every few days. Trust me, there's some intriguing, controversial stories that are on their way. I'll be keeping you guys updated with breakdowns throughout this entire offseason, so stay notified. Number 10, Eric Gordon. In games 3 to 5 of the second round against the Lakers, Eric made only 10 of his 30 shots from the field. You're probably thinking, but D-Flow, up until those 3 final games of round 2, Gordon was having a stellar postseason. Why is he on the top 10 choker list? Well, it's because a top option on a championship threat requires you to step up in the most crucial games, not just the first opening games of a series. Because as an NBA playoff series progresses, with coaches game planning to shut down players who went off in the previous games, things get 100 times more difficult. But a true number 1 to number 3 option is prepared for that and stays aggressive. To be fair, the 12-year veteran EG was likely counted on to do a little too much for Houston at this stage of his career, but he was the Rockets' third scorer, and with Harden desperately looking for anyone to get it going alongside of him, unfortunately, Eric Gordon was neutralized and came up short for the beard. Number 9, Eric Bledsoe. You can't make the excuse like I did for the first Eric that mini LeBron was counted on to do too much. The 30-year-old's in his prime and has the explosiveness and ball handling to make things happen for Milwaukee. A big part of the swagger this Bucks team played with all season long had to do with Eric dictating the pace of the game with his speed. Additionally, in 2019-20's regular season, Bledsoe was able to get much easier buckets in the paint because he could bait defenses with his three-point shot. But that long-range weapon abandoned him in 2020's NBA playoffs, where Bledsoe hit only a quarter of his three-point shots. The Heat completely dismantling the Bucks had a lot to do with the fact that Bledsoe shot a measly 32.2% from the field in that series. I think Bledsoe's got to put in endless reps on his pull-up threes, because when he can fluidly mix up his slashing and deep-range bombs, he's an elite scorer. But these playoffs, he was far from that and made some uncharacteristically dumb turnovers in crucial moments as well. Number 8, Joe Ingles. The next 2 players you'll see ranked are the only ones on this list who aren't counted on as go-to options for their teams. If Utah's forward Ingles in games 3, 4, 6, and 7 against Denver shoots better than 4 of 20 from the field, then the Jazz would have advanced. It's clear that Utah missed the services of their second 20-point scorer, Bojan Bogdanovic, who was out with a wrist injury. That meant Jingle and Joe had to face more defensive pressure than he's used to, but there's still no excuse that a man getting paid $14 million produces this little under the bright lights. He failed to get lift on his jump shots even when he had wide-open looks, and his landing awkwardly after these lackluster three-point attempts. He lands completely off balance, plus isn't putting nearly enough power or backspin on his shots to drop them in. Ingles may have to slightly reconstruct his shooting release because it's failing him when he needs to be contributing the most. Number 7, Maxi Kleber. 34 minutes, 3 points, then 33 minutes, 4 points, then 35 minutes, 5 points, then 37 minutes, 7 points, all while shooting 5 of 23 from the field, 1 of 16 from three-point range. That's all the offense Maxi Kleber could generate from games 1 to 4 against the LA Clippers. Mavericks fans, I know your coach Rick Carlisle left him on the floor for that long because of his lateral quickness guarding the perimeter. When you're as inefficient as Maxi was offensively, you become a liability to your team. Whoever was guarding Maxi for the Clippers was able to divert their attention to stopping Luka Doncic, which made it tougher for Carlisle's offense to thrive. Given his stats dropping off nearly across the board from the regular season, it's safe to say the Mavs power forward Kleber let the pressure get the best of him. Kleber was trusted to step into a bigger role with Kristaps Porzingis being out and averaged 6.7 points in 33.8 minutes. Number 6, Kawhi Leonard. Something didn't feel right in these playoffs. Last year, even though he's been known for showing a lack of emotion, it was clear Kawhi Leonard enjoyed playing with his teammates. Veterans Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, Danny Green, and Marc Gasol meshed on the floor with Kawhi beautifully, but more than that, It was clear the Claw felt motivated and generally enjoyed producing for those guys. Fast forward to Uncle Dennis's decision to join the Clippers, and Leonard found none of that companionship with his new team in LA. Not only did the Clippers prove to be an extremely dislikable team with their playoff antics, but they couldn't hold their own without Kawhi going off. So because of that, and the fact that I'm a Raptors fan, it pains me to put Kawhi Leonard on this list. However, we've debated if Leonard's the best player in the league ahead of LeBron, so we have to hold him to those standards. The best player in the world doesn't let his team forfeit a 3-1 series lead, first of all, and only shooting 50% from the field in 2 games of a 7-game conference semifinal series doesn't put you in the same sentence as King James whatsoever. Shooting 6 of 22 from the field with 14 points in Game 7 is inexcusable as well. Despite that, I still think Kawhi is the second best player in the world. But Kevin Durant's coming back next year, so to maintain that status, Kawhi's going to have to be his Raptors self in the 2021 playoffs. Number 5, Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is a quick one. Yes, he injured his ankle, but the Greek Freak's lack of an in-between game and deep-range jump shot got the best of him these playoffs. From round 1 against the Magic to round 2 against the Heat, Antetokounmpo's numbers significantly dropped off, and given Giannis's non-diverse offensive repertoire, if you're a coach matching up with the Bucks in the playoffs, you can game plan for their best player fairly easily. Number 4, Russell Westbrook. After shooting his team out of yet another playoff series, it's time for the 2017 League MVP, Russ Brody, to evaluate where his career is headed. In round 2 against the Lakers, Westbrook shot an average of 5 3-point attempts per game, but only hit 8 of his 33 attempts from out there. Shockingly, 2020 was Westbrook's 6th playoff run, where he's averaged at least 4 3-point attempts per game, but shot below 33% from deep range. Russell's been taking the ball away from superstars his entire career, from driving Kevin Durant and Paul George out of OKC to now taking the ball away from James Harden. Westbrook needs to stop taking an excessive amount of low percentage jumpers. KD, PG-13, and the Beard could have been a bit better themselves, and in some seasons Westbrook didn't have the right supporting cast. However, there's no denying Brody's lack of a fundamentally sound, consistent jump shot and his urge to take a ton of attempts outside of the paint at the same time have killed his team's chances. Number 3, Marc Gasol. At first, Gasol made headlines for his weight loss, and everyone thought the Raptors were adding the prime Memphis Grizzly version of Marc. But the championship hangover effect was on full display with Toronto's center, and that wasn't surprising after he fully sent it at the parade. But unfortunately, Big Spain's production was not even close to what it was in the Raptors' 2019 title run. After exercising a $25.6 million player option to stay with Toronto for 2019-20, the 2020 playoffs saw Gasolina shoot 18.5% from 3, 39.1% from the field, and he put up only 6 points per game and 4.5 rebounds in the playoffs overall. Who knows where the Raptors would have been if Gasol even comes close to living up to his cap hit. Number 2, Pascal Siakam. The regular season was a coming-out party for Spicy P, convincing those like myself that he was good enough with the pieces around him to get the Raptors out of the Eastern Conference. But it turned out Pascal Siakam just wasn't ready to provide like a number 1 or even a number 2 or 3 option. Having Kawhi last year opened up a lot for him, but he was also way more confident and visibly in better shape. This year, you could just see in his face that he wasn't himself. Siakam's post-up game needs to be completely upgraded, as without the same pop athletically these playoffs, his footwork got exposed. I expect Siakam to be motivated, more polished, and in a better state mentally when we're hopefully back to having fans next season. Number 1, Paul George. Playoff P, Pandemic P, whatever you want to call him. PG-13 more than earns his ranking as the number 1 choker in the 2020 playoffs. George was pretty much single-handedly the reason why Dallas pushed the Clippers to 6 games, as he shot 34.6% from the field and 27% from three-point range in the first round. Additionally, in games 4 and 7 of the conference semis, Paul combined for just 20 points while shooting 8 of 26 from the field. Paul's proven himself to be extremely overrated, unfortunately, and I'll come clean for yet another time. as I've been doing in some recent videos, by the way, because I said that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard was the #1 duo in the NBA. Here's what I had to say this past August 21st about Kawhi, but more specifically, what I had to say about Paul George. This is Rich. Look for Kawhi to really lead and carry his Clipper teammates in every aspect of the game for the rest of this competitive series. Meanwhile, the scariest second option in the league right now, Paul George, obviously needs to be better, but here's why he has an outstanding chance to prove that he's a champion. PG's never had the luxury of being a #2 option throughout his career.
Do it again, please.
Stay off the weed.
Oh, poor old D-Flow. How you didn't realize that Anthony Davis was the most dangerous second option in basketball by far is beyond me, current D-Flow. But let's be friends. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DFlowHoops. I want to get to know who tunes into my videos. Tons of hot takes, predictions, and stories on the way for you guys. This was D-Flow, and I'll see you next video.